Today, we're diving into the incredible life of Paul Loeffler. We're going to be pulling from his fantastic conversation on the Sabiduría Para Tu Día podcast to really unpack this journey of faith, service, and the amazing power of just listening.
He's a man whose voice has become this incredible unifying force in California's Central Valley. And it all kicked off with this one simple mission, making sure our nation's heroes are never, ever forgotten.
Okay, I want you to just picture this for a second. You're in an airport terminal, and it is packed. I mean, shoulder to shoulder. You've got people from every walk of life, all ages, waving flags, just cheering their hearts out. And who are they cheering for? A group of elderly veterans, many in wheelchairs, coming through the gate. It's just this powerful moment of pure gratitude. A real hero's welcome, you know? The kind that's been long, long overdue.
So you gotta ask, right? How does something like that even happen? How does one person's idea catch fire and bring a whole community together? Well, that's what we're digging into. This is the story of the guy behind that welcome home, and we're gonna trace the steps that led him on this absolutely amazing mission.
So, that incredible scene I just described, that's the homecoming for something called the Central Valley Honor Flight. It's this amazing nonprofit that flies World War II, Korean, and Vietnam vets on an all-expenses-paid trip to see their memorials in DC. But to really get how this all came together, we've got to rewind. I mean, go way back.
And when I say way back, I mean back to his roots. To understand Paul Loeffler's mission, you have to understand where he came from. A small town he lovingly calls El Centro del Universo, the center of the universe. A little place called Los Baños, California.
You see, the Loeffler story in the valley, it starts with his grandfather, su abuelo. This man was a doctor in World War II, and he earned a Silver Star for just unbelievable bravery. After the war, he's looking for work, sends out letters to 100 doctors, 100, and only one doctor on the entire West Coast writes back. It's a Dr. Moretti in this little town, Los Baños. And just like that, with one letter, the family's roots were planted deep in that valley soil. It's where Paul grew up, raised on this really simple but profound idea. God first, others second.
And check out this number, 26. What's that? Well, that is the number of men his grandfather, a doctor, mind you, under fire, pulled from burning tanks during a German ambush in France. Just incredible. Paul once asked him what was going through his head, and his grandfather just said, "I was pretty sure I was going to get killed." And that just hits you, right? It was this constant reminder for Paul that his own life, his very existence, depended on his grandfather making it through that day.
And that foundation led to this core belief, a lesson he learned watching his own father struggle with a really tough illness, but with this just unshakable faith. It became the bedrock of Paul's life. He saw, up close and personal, that real strength isn't found when things are easy. No, it's found in the toughest times. And that completely shaped how he looked at life, purpose, and just pushing through.
Okay, so you've got this background of faith and service, but how does that turn into becoming a voice for the entire valley? Well, it's kind of funny. It all started with a childhood dream that he wasn't allowed to have. And that no actually opened the door to what he was truly meant to do.
Like every kid in his town, he was desperate to play football. It was everything. But his parents said no, flat out. And at the time, man, that was just crushing. But now looking back, he says it was one of the first big signs in his life that, hey, maybe God's plans are a whole lot better than my own.
And this is how it all went down. It's great. He's 12 years old, watching a 49ers game, and like any good fan, he's complaining about the announcer, just going off about how the guy has no idea what he's talking about. His dad, who's on dialysis at the time but hears everything, doesn't skip a beat. He just looks at him and says, "You think you can do better? Get on your bike." So he did. That bike ride took him to the local high school announcer, and a few weeks later, there he is, 12-year-old Paul Loeffler announcing Pop Warner football games.
And you have to hear about the very first compliment he ever got. So this guy storms up to the press box, he's looking around all confused, and he says this. See, Paul's voice hadn't changed yet, so the fan thought he was a girl. But hey, a compliment's a compliment, right? And just like that, a broadcasting career was born.
So fast forward a bunch of years. His talent for telling stories and that deep, deep respect for his family's history of service, well, they were about to come together. They were going to converge in a way he absolutely never saw coming, and it would create this incredibly powerful new mission.
He started thinking about it, and he realized that all these amazing stories from the greatest generation, stories just like his grandfather's, they were in danger of just disappearing, being lost forever. So he did something about it. He started a radio show called Hometown Heroes, and it had one single purpose: to capture and save the voices of these veterans before it was too late.
And this right here, this became the fuel for his fire. He'd sit down with a veteran, do the interview, and then every single time, without fail, a family member, a wife, a son, a daughter, would come up to him totally floored and say, I've never heard that before. Think about that. He wasn't just recording an interview. He was giving these families a piece of their own history back, a piece they were hearing for the very first time.
But then things took a turn. The mission, it kind of found him. A woman named Nancy Walker calls his radio show. She tells him her husband went on an honor flight from some other small town. And she asks him, when are you going to do something about us here in Fresno? Okay. Then, the next week, another woman, Diane Seymour, calls with the exact same story and the same question. And then it starts happening every week. First Nancy, then Diane, back and forth. It was a message he just couldn't ignore.
So he knew, okay, this has to happen. But there were two massive roadblocks. One, he had absolutely no time to run a new organization. And two, he had zero money to get it started. So he took a walk and basically gave up control. He prayed that if this was really meant to happen, a way would be shown. And you know what? It was. Out of the blue, a local credit union calls, and they're looking for a veterans charity to fund. Then, this highly respected, retired VA hospital leader named Al Perry suddenly becomes available to lead the whole thing. The pieces just fell into place, perfectly, in a way he could have never orchestrated himself.
And the result of that prayer being answered, well, it's been nothing short of a movement that has totally changed his community, and more importantly, the lives of thousands of veterans and their families. So get this, since they started back in 2013, and this is an all-volunteer, all-donation-based operation, by the way, the Central Valley Honor Flight has made 33 trips to Washington, D.C.
And what does that mean in human terms? It means that 2,216 veterans from World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War have gotten the trip of a lifetime, a chance to finally see the memorials that were built to honor them. And it didn't cost them a single penny.
And that brings us right back to where we started, in that airport. You know those welcome home events? They've become this incredible symbol of what's possible. All the stuff that we're told divides us every single day, politics, religion, age, you name it, it just vanishes in that airport terminal. Everybody is there for one simple, powerful reason, to just say thank you. Muchas gracias.
And that leaves all of us with Paul Loeffler's really powerful question. It's a challenge, really, one that comes from seeing the absolute best of his community. If this one thing, showing gratitude for our veterans, can bring everyone together and erase all those lines we draw in the sand, what else could we find that unites us? And that's not just a question for the Central Valley, is it? It's a question for every single one of us.
Seriously, if this story inspired you at all, I highly, highly recommend you go listen to the entire in-depth interview on the Sabiduría Para Tu Día podcast. And you can also learn how to support the incredible Honor Flight mission by visiting their website.